A setback for India at the United Nations Tribunal on the Law of the Seas, because they've asked India to suspend the trial of the two Italian Marines accused of killing Indian fishermen in 2012. Both India and Italy have been asked to submit reports on the controversial incident by the 24th of September. The International Tribunal on the Law of the Seas also said that the two countries should refrain from initiating new cases that might aggravate or extend the dispute. However, while one of the two Marines has been allowed to return to his country, the other will have to continue to stay in India while the matter is being heard.
Considering that India argues that since two of its unarmed fishermen were killed, the right to inquire, investigate, and to try the accused is a fundamental right of India. Considering that India maintains that under the Convention, immunity from the jurisdiction of any state other than the flag state is available only to warships and government ships operated for non-commercial purposes.
Okay, let me go to former Solicitor General Harish Salve, who appeared at one stage for the Italian government, to understand what this means. This has been a highly controversial case, Mr. Salve. Today the UN tribunal saying the two countries, India and Italy, cannot take forward these proceedings. This will now be decided through international arbitration. Is this a setback for India's claim to try these two Italian Marines?
Well, I don't use words like setback, but India had this coming. The conduct of India, I must confess, Rajdeep, has fallen far short of the standards expected of a country who is a party to such a convention. First of all, I have publicly always maintained that this case is hopeless. Here was a case of two Marines duly deployed under Italian law on board an Italian vessel in the contiguous zone. If they have exceeded their brief, they have to follow the Italian law and the Italian protocol. You cannot say by our standards you acted excessively. They have to act as per Italian law, and it is the Italians who have to judge the conduct. And I have always given this rather stark example. Would you allow Pakistan to try Indian officers or our boys who are safeguarding our borders on the ground that they have exceeded, they have used excessive force? You would not. And vice versa.
But Mr. Salve, the Indian government has always claimed that at the end of the day, they believe the crime took place within Indian jurisdiction, that the act of the Italian Marines amounted to murder of Indian citizens in Indian territory, and therefore they should be tried in India.
First of all, let's be clear. The FIR says it happened beyond Indian territorial waters. So that's neither here nor there. I mean, let's be very clear. It is nobody's case that it happened in Indian territorial waters. They say it happened in the Indian economic zone, which is very different from Indian territorial waters. Secondly, the question is not whether the Italians have hard questions to answer. The question is who is entitled to ask these questions. Please consider, if Indian Marines are on Indian vessel and they are picked up by a foreign government saying they used excessive force, will we try them or will that government try them? That's the point.
No, are you saying therefore a sense of misplaced nationalism took over from common sense in this case?
Rajdeep, the incident happened when there was an election in the area to which these unfortunate fishermen belonged, and the Kerala government was narrowly poised. That's why it all became extremely volatile at that time. The trouble is, in India we live with legacy, so this becomes a legacy issue. So this government is continuing what the previous government did. We had this trouble coming. I'm surprised the Italians waited so long to move the...
Let me raise this question though, that if Sonia Gandhi had not been an Italian citizen originally, would this case have taken a very different political turn if this was not a case involving Italian Marines? That there was pressure therefore on both the Manmohan Singh government and now the Narendra Modi government to take a tough line so that no one accused anyone of a deal possibly.
See, Rajdeep, the point is, the first time they left, we argued in Supreme Court and the judges frankly realized this case was going nowhere. So they allowed them to go. Then the whole, as we say, the waters got muddied when initially they said we are not coming back, and then they came back. So after which I I waved goodbye to the case. I walked away because I thought that conduct was unacceptable. So, but their being allowed to travel was something which the court sensibly allowed. The conduct thereafter by the Italian government unfortunately created all the complications when they initially said we are not sending them back. So that's what spoiled the relations. But if you isolate that and you come back to the incident, I don't think it has anything to do with anybody's origins. What happens is, at that moment there was a lot of anger in Kerala. Out of anger you reacted. Now the trouble in India is we are set upon a course. Today if the government reverses that decision, then again they will be said, oh, you are the BJP government, or you are so-and-so government, you are not pro this, or you are not anti this. The sad part which people like me feel, Rajdeep, is somewhere along the way in India we have lost our objectivity and our capacity to judge events and decisions divorced from their politics.
Hari Salve, I appreciate your joining us and giving us some perspective to that complex case involving the Italian Marines.